I never thought my boss would set me up on a blind date, and I definitely never imagined that the woman waiting for me at that coffee shop would turn out to be her daughter. I've been working at Morrison and Associates for 3 years, long enough to earn respect, but not long enough to feel comfortable saying no to Catherine Morrison when she suggested something. Catherine was our CEO, mid-50s, sharp as a blade, and surprisingly warm once you got past the executive armor. She had this way of reading people that made you feel both seen and slightly nervous. It started on a Tuesday afternoon. I was finishing up a report when Catherine knocked on my cubicle wall. She never just walked by. When Catherine stopped, it meant something. "Daniel," she said, "do you have dinner plans Friday?" I looked up from my screen. "Just the usual, takeout and Netflix." She smiled. "I have someone I'd like you to meet, a friend's daughter. She's lovely, around your age, and I think you two might get along." My face must have shown my hesitation because she laughed softly. "I'm not trying to play matchmaker as your boss," she added. "I'm doing this as someone who cares about the people around her. No pressure, just coffee. If it's terrible, you never have to mention it again." There was something genuine in her voice, something that made me say yes even though blind dates terrified me. "Okay," I said. "Coffee sounds fine." "Perfect. Saturday afternoon. I'll text you the details." She walked away before I could change my mind. Saturday came faster than I wanted. The cafe was downtown, one of those places with exposed brick and too many plants. I arrived 10 minutes early and ordered a black coffee I didn't really want. My hands needed something to hold. I'd been single for 2 years. The last relationship ended badly. Not dramatically bad, just the slow, painful kind where you realize you're holding on to someone who's already let go. Since then, I'd buried myself in work. It was easier than trying again. The door chimed. I looked up. She walked in wearing a navy blue dress and white sneakers, dark hair pulled back in a loose bun, no makeup that I could tell, but she didn't need it. She had this natural elegance that made the room feel quieter. Our eyes met. She smiled, uncertain but warm, and walked over. "Daniel?" she asked. "That's me. You must be—" "Emma," she said, sitting down across from me. "Sorry I'm a bit late. Traffic was worse than I thought." "You're fine. I just got here too." A lie, but a kind one. We ordered drinks. The first few minutes were awkward in that universal first date way. Small talk about the weather, the cafe, how we both loved the smell of coffee but rarely drank it black. I learned she worked in graphic design, freelance mostly, which gave her freedom but also constant anxiety about the next project. "It's like being permanently on the edge of something," she said, stirring her latte. "Either falling or flying, never sure which." I understood that feeling more than I wanted to admit. As we talked, the awkwardness faded. She had this way of listening that made you want to keep talking. She asked real questions, not the scripted ones people ask when they're waiting for their turn to speak. She leaned in when I spoke. She laughed at my terrible jokes. An hour passed like 15 minutes. "So," she said eventually, "how do you know the person who set this up?" My stomach dropped a little. I'd been avoiding this question. "She's a colleague," I said carefully. "We work together. She thought we might get along." "That's nice," Emma said. "Good colleagues are rare. Most people just clock in and clock out." "Yeah, Catherine's different. She actually cares." Emma's expression changed, just slightly, a flicker of something I couldn't read. "Catherine?" she repeated. "Yeah, Catherine Morrison. Do you know her?" The air between us shifted. Emma set down her cup slowly, her face unreadable. "Daniel," she said quietly, "Catherine Morrison is my mother." Time stopped. I must have looked like I'd been hit by a truck because Emma's expression softened into something between amusement and sympathy. "You didn't know," she said. It wasn't a question. "No, I had no idea. She just said, a friend's daughter. I never—" Emma laughed, not mockingly, but genuinely, like the absurdity of the situation was too much to resist. "Of course she didn't tell you," Emma said. "That's so like her. She probably thought if you knew, you'd be too nervous to show up." "She was right," I admitted. We sat there in stunned silence for a moment. Then Emma smiled, and something in my chest loosened. "Well," she said, "now that the weird part is out of the way, do you want to keep talking, or is this too strange?" I should have said it was too strange. I should have made an excuse and left. Dating your boss's daughter was a terrible idea on every professional level, but I didn't want to leave. "Let's keep talking," I said. Her smile widened. We stayed at that cafe for another 2 hours. The conversation flowed even easier after the revelation. Maybe because the worst had already happened. Maybe because we both knew this was complicated and decided not to care. I learned that Emma had grown up watching her mother build a company from nothing, that she'd seen the sacrifices, the late nights, the missed school plays, that she admired her mother but also resented how work always came first. She'd chosen a different path deliberately. Freelance design gave her control. It gave her life outside of ambition. I told her about my own path, how I'd taken this job because I needed stability after my father died, how Catherine had seen something in me during the interview that I didn't see in myself, how she'd mentored me quietly, never making a big deal of it. "She does that," Emma said softly, "helps people without expecting credit." As the sun started setting, Emma checked her phone and sighed. "I should probably go," she said. "I have a project deadline tomorrow that I've been avoiding." "Me too. I mean, I should go. Not that you have my deadline." She laughed at my awkwardness. Outside the cafe, we stood on the sidewalk. The evening air was cool. People walked past us, busy with their own lives. "This was really nice," Emma said. "Unexpected, but nice." "Yeah, really nice. Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Are you going to tell my mother about this?" I hadn't thought about it, but now, standing there, I realized how complicated this was going to be. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Should I?" "I think she already knows what she did," Emma said with a knowing smile. "She's not subtle when she wants something." "What does she want?" Emma looked at me for a long moment. "I think she wants us both to be happy, in her own meddling way." We exchanged numbers. She hugged me goodbye, brief but warm, and then she was gone, walking down the street until she turned the corner. I stood there feeling like my life had just shifted in a direction I couldn't predict. Monday morning felt different. I walked into the office with a secret sitting in my chest. Catherine was in her usual spot, glass office overlooking the city, typing away at something important. She glanced up when I passed, made eye contact, smiled slightly. She knew. Of course she knew. I kept my head down and worked, but around lunch, my phone buzzed. "Emma, so did you survive the Monday morning guilt?" Me. "Barely. Your mother has a scary knowing smile." "Emma. She's had that smile since I was 5. You get used to it." Me. "Do you want to get dinner sometime? Somewhere your mother won't coincidentally show up?" Emma. "Yes. Wednesday?" Me. "Perfect." Wednesday came. We met at a small Italian place in her neighborhood. No awkwardness this time, just easy conversation and too much wine. She told me stories about growing up with a workaholic mother. I told her about trying to live up to a father who'd never said he was proud, but showed it in quiet ways. We discovered we both loved old movies, that we both fell asleep reading, that we both had this habit of overthinking everything until it felt impossible. "I think too much," Emma admitted over tiramisu. "I can't just let things happen. I have to analyze every angle." "Me too," I said. "It's exhausting." "So, what are we doing here, Daniel?" The question hung between us. "I don't know," I said, "but I know I didn't want tonight to end without asking to see you again. Even though I'm Catherine Morrison's daughter? Especially because you're Catherine Morrison's daughter. Because if you're anything like her, you're probably stubborn and brilliant and terrifying in the best way." Emma laughed. "That's the strangest compliment I've ever received." Is it working?
Yeah, she said softly. It is. We started seeing each other regularly. Quiet dinners, long walks, late-night texts about nothing and everything. It felt natural, like something that had been waiting to happen. But at work, I kept it hidden, not because I was ashamed, but because I didn't know how to navigate it. Catherine never asked directly, but sometimes I'd catch her watching me with that knowing expression, like she was waiting for me to say something. 2 months in, Emma brought it up. We were at her apartment, sprawled on the couch after dinner. She'd been quiet all evening. "Daniel," she said finally, "are you ever going to tell my mother we're dating?" I'd been dreading this conversation. "I don't know how," I admitted. "She's my boss. What if she thinks I'm taking advantage of the situation? What if it changes how she sees me at work?" "And what if it doesn't?" Emma countered. "What if she's happy about it? What if this is exactly what she hoped would happen?" "But what if it's not?" Emma stood up, facing me. "I need you to understand something. My mother and I have a complicated relationship. She missed a lot when I was growing up. Work always came first. But she's trying now. She's trying to be present, to be involved in my life. Setting us up was her way of showing she cares." "I know," I said, "but this isn't just about her. It's about my career. If this goes wrong, I could lose everything I've worked for." "And if it goes right?" Emma asked quietly. "What then?" I didn't have an answer. The silence stretched between us. Finally, Emma stood up. "I think you should go," she said, her voice careful. "I need some time to think." "Emma? Please." I left. The drive home felt longer than it should have. I kept replaying the conversation, wondering if I'd just ruined everything. 3 days passed. Emma didn't text, didn't call. I wanted to reach out, but didn't know what to say. On Thursday, Catherine called me into her office. My heart raced as I walked in. She gestured to the chair across from her desk. I sat. "Daniel," she said, folding her hands, "I'm going to ask you something and I'd appreciate honesty." "Okay. Are you dating my daughter?" There it was, the question I'd been avoiding. "Yes," I said. "We've been seeing each other for 2 months." Catherine nodded slowly. "And you didn't tell me because I was afraid of how it might affect my job, and because I didn't want you to think I was using the situation inappropriately." "Daniel," Catherine said, leaning back in her chair, "I've known you for 3 years. I've watched you work harder than anyone in this building. I've seen your integrity, your dedication. Do you really think I'd believe you'd manipulate my daughter?" "I don't know what to think," I admitted. "Let me be clear. My daughter is a grown woman. She makes her own choices. I set that date up because I genuinely thought you two would connect, not as a test, not as some scheme. I care about both of you." But nothing. Your job performance is based on your work. Your relationship with Emma has nothing to do with your position here. They're separate, completely." I felt something loosen in my chest. "However," Catherine continued, "Emma called me yesterday. She's upset. Not with me, with you." My stomach dropped. "She thinks you're ashamed of her, that you're hiding the relationship because being with her is somehow a liability." "That's not true," I said quickly. "I'm not ashamed. I just didn't want to complicate things." "Then stop complicating them," Catherine said firmly. "If you care about my daughter, show her. Stop treating this like a problem to be managed. Treat it like what it is, a relationship worth fighting for." She stood up, signaling the conversation was over. "Thank you," I said, standing too. "Daniel, for what it's worth, I think you're good for her. You make her happy. I haven't seen her this happy in years. Don't waste that because you're afraid." I left her office with a clarity I hadn't felt in weeks. That evening, I showed up at Emma's apartment. She answered the door in sweatpants and an old t-shirt, her hair messy, eyes surprised. "Daniel," she said. "I'm sorry," I said. "I'm sorry for making you feel like you were something to hide. You're not. You're the best thing that's happened to me in a long time, and I was so worried about protecting my career that I forgot what actually matters." Emma's expression softened. "I talked to your mother today," I continued. She knows about us, and she's okay with it. More than okay. And even if she wasn't, it wouldn't change how I feel about you. How do you feel about me? Emma asked quietly. I think I'm falling in love with you. And that terrifies me, but not as much as losing you does. Emma stepped forward and kissed me, soft and sure and full of everything we'd both been too afraid to say. When we pulled apart, she smiled. My mother called me too, told me to stop being stubborn and give you a chance to fix this. She's very wise. She's very meddling. Same thing.
Emma laughed, and it felt like coming home. We didn't have all the answers. We still had to figure out how to navigate a relationship under the watchful eye of a CEO who happened to be Emma's mother, but we'd figure it out together. Because some things are worth the complication. Some people are worth the risk. 3 months later, we had dinner with Catherine, the three of us at a restaurant downtown. It was slightly awkward at first, the lines between boss, mother, girlfriend, and employee all blurred together, but Catherine made a joke about her terrible matchmaking skills, and Emma laughed, and I realized it was going to be okay. Thank you, I said to Catherine as we were leaving, for the blind date, for pushing me, for caring. Don't thank me yet, she said with that knowing smile. If you hurt her, you're fired. She was joking, mostly. Emma and I walked to the car hand in hand. The city lights reflected off the wet pavement. It had rained earlier, and everything smelled clean. So, Emma said, was this the strangest way to meet someone or what? Definitely strange, I agreed, but I wouldn't change it. Even the part where you almost ran away? Even that part, because it led here. She leaned her head on my shoulder as we walked. I didn't know what the future held. Maybe we'd lost, maybe we wouldn't. Maybe working for her mother would get complicated. Maybe it would be fine. But in that moment, walking through the city with her hand in mine, I knew one thing for certain. Sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. Sometimes your CEO sets you up on a blind date, and sometimes, against all odds, it turns out to be exactly what you needed. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.